Hello everyone, my name is Alhadji Allie BANGURA. I'm a former banker turned social entrepreneur, and my entrepreneurial journey revolves all around enabling black and people of color or the African diaspora to thrive and prosper. So I want to open this presentation with a little question to the audience. So what do have Google, Microsoft, Adobe, the British government, IBM, Novartis have in common? Does anyone want to guess? Exactly. So they're all headed by someone of Indian descent. So I think this is actually a good example for all of us, especially from the African diaspora, to maybe learn and replicate from the Indian diaspora. Because as you can see, the Indian diaspora is very, very influential, as it can be also coined as in having or being a tool for soft power. Soft power is basically created with the mere presence of the diaspora. And it uses culture, political values, foreign policy to enact change. And Indians have been very successful in promoting India's image abroad. You can see that there are about 18 million Indians living abroad, and their remittances are a whopping 108 billion, which goes back to India per year, which is 3% of the GDP, which is a very, very large number. So I think these facts should actually give us an idea how powerful the diaspora is or can be. Going further, we look at the African diaspora, right? And I want to also make this large claim that the African diaspora is actually non-existent in terms of influence in Europe and large parts of the world. Because although we have Afro-diasporic communities in almost every major European country, the African diaspora is not really understood, right? There's no research about the African diaspora. You can see some numbers. I have to say it's based on research I did, but they're not like from a legitimate institute, so there's no research. Obviously, also we have this challenge in Europe that you cannot count people based on their ethnicity, which is different in other parts of the world, but nevertheless, we don't know how big or large the African diaspora is. We are not really organized, so there are no institutions. There are no institutional standard where we can all come together and wield our influence. And one thing you have to say in line with that is obviously that the African diaspora is not monolith, so we're very different. I mean, Africa has 54 countries, and we're all very different. But nevertheless, looking at the diaspora, there should be an opportunity or at least a push for us to be institutionalized. And then obviously the last but not least part is the topic of influence. How many people of African descent are in very influential positions? It's some, but not many, and there's definitely more potential. So I was thinking a lot, like how could I really give you a good picture of the opportunity of the African diaspora? And I wanted to, in that sense, I chose to refer to macro trends. So because obviously, as a former banker, we love to look at macro trends. And if you look at the global economy today, there is a critical shortage for talent and skills. And businesses are actually being threatened to not succeed because there is a talent shortage, especially in Europe and the West at large. And if you can see the numbers, like there's an unrealized annual revenue of 8.5 trillion by 2030 if they don't solve this skill gap. And which continent obviously is predestined to solve this skill gap? It's the African continent. So African talent is capable of solving the ongoing talent shortage and becoming the continent's largest export. So as you can see here, Africa will have the largest working age population, adding 796 million people to the global workforce. Furthermore, it will be home to the youngest population by 2050. And these are not my words, these are the smart guys from McKinsey that did this study. And as you can see in the chart on my right, Africa will surpass India in terms of export of talent. So what does this tell us, right? What does this tell us? It tells us that the diaspora will grow. So as of now, we're talking of about 200 million African people of African descent around the globe, but it's going to grow significantly just because Africa is so populous. So how can we as Africans harness this potential? Looking at human capital, right? 796 billion people being added to the African diaspora that will all at some point have to send money home, back to their parents, to their brothers, sisters, to put them through education. As of today, African diaspora is sending back 95 billion per year, which surpasses the official development aid and foreign direct investment. So this will triple and double and whatever in the next coming years. And I think it's up to African institutions, politicians, to really think strategically about this opportunity, about this macro trend, how they can capitalize it. And I want to close off as well with a very practical project. So my organization was part of a GIZ project. So I'm from Germany, Frankfurt, and it was called We Do Africa. And what was done there, basically financing from the diaspora was leveraged to support local entrepreneurs on the continent. So basically you could just imagine you have a cousin in Abidjan who runs a tailor workshop, and he needs 3 new machines which cost €1,000 or dollar. So basically the German government said, we will give $500 if your cousin gives also $250 and you as the diasporan give $250, and we all cover the sum of $1,000 to support the investment. So this project has been ongoing for 3 years, and my organization was part of the diaspora outreach, and they were able to leverage 8 million of investment from the African diaspora in Germany, and mainly Cameroonians, Ghanaians, Cameroonians and Ghanaians, and in Germany. And just look at the relation, how many black or Africans live in Germany. So we are about 1 million out of about 83 million inhabitants, which is about 0.8%. And so it's really small. So rethinking what could be done in that sense, just from a financial perspective, is really great. So what I personally do to close off, I connect black talent with high-paying jobs in relevant organizations. So I founded a nonprofit 10 years ago while I was still working in banking. I created a social business out of parts of it 2-3 years ago, and I work with large organizations like Deutsche Bank, H&M, LinkedIn, Zalando, etc., on supporting black talent, supporting them with their diversity strategy, because they all understand that they need to attract and recruit young talents. So we have a career fair, which is the largest career fair for black and people of color. So we have a career fair only for black people in Germany. 40 companies are there. It will happen on the 19th of April. You are all cordially invited if you want to come to a place which only caters to black and people of color, which is very special. Because I remember we had a discussion with a French company about the opportunity, and the guy from the HR department really asked me, so a career fair only for black people in Germany? Does that work? He was not understanding it because he said it will never work in France. So maybe this alludes to the pragmatism of German people. But I will close this impulse. I hope I gave you some ideas, and I'm happy to continue the conversation here. Thank you very much.